Hello everybody, this is Mark. Today I want to introduce you to my MJX Bugs 3 non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone. Explain a little bit about the drone and what that means and why I think that it's important for all of us as pilots to learn how to fly this type drone, even if you're currently flying GPS drones. I fly GPS drones and I fly them mostly to film video. I do take some photos with my drone, but I fly it mostly to film video, which means that I need the drone to be stable with a good 3-axis gimbal camera, and those normally come on a GPS-oriented drone, which is kind of sort of a requirement for that type of filming because you want something that's really stable in the air, that you can let go of the sticks once in a while and have it hover in place. But with that said, there's always situations that will arise when you're flying any type of drone where you may disconnect from GPS, if it's a GPS drone especially, where you may disconnect from the GPS and go into what's called ADI mode. Once that happens, the drone is no longer locked in place, which means it will drift with the wind in the direction that the wind is blowing. And unless you're prepared for that type of flight, you may panic and not know exactly what to do, which could cause you to lose a very expensive drone if it does not reestablish GPS connection. I can tell you from my past experience flying my GPS drones that that has happened periodically, where I have had to fly the drone back in ADI mode and land it because it lost GPS for one reason or another and did not reestablish it. So with that said, let's talk about the MJX Bugs 3 and non-GPS, non-altitude hold drones. The major difference between this type drone and a GPS drone is simply that this is, let's consider this like a free flight drone. You have to fly this drone the entire time that you're flying it. You can't let go of the sticks. You can't take your eye off the drone. You can't count on the drone to just sit there and hover at any specific height. You have to control everything with this drone. The direction the drone is flying, adjustments in your stick input to adjust for the way the drone is flying, also the altitude of the drone, ascent or descent. All of those inputs have to be 100% controlled by you as the pilot flying the drone the entire time you're flying. What I'm saying there is that you can never really let off the sticks and expect the drone to just sit there and hover like a GPS drone would, because it simply won't happen. With these drones, the controller basically looks kind of sort of the same as your normal GPS drones would look, but the stick input is completely different. If you'll notice on the left-hand stick here that controls the ascent or the descent, there's no spring-loaded option here where when I let go of the stick, it will pop back into place. And on your GPS drones, that simply means when it pops back into place like that, the drone just stops ascending and just sits there and waits for some additional input. With these drones, you have to constantly tweak this left-hand stick up or down ever so slightly to control whether the drone is going up or whether the drone is coming down, and also to control the speed at which the drone is ascending or descending. All of that input is controlled with small, slight tweaks of this stick the entire time you're flying. If you push the stick up like that and you let go, the drone's just going to keep ascending, and it will eventually speed up ascending. But it's also going to drift with the wind as it's ascending because this does not have GPS lock. If you push down on the stick and let go at a slight downward angle, the drone is going to descend and speed up descending and also blow left or right or forward or back with the wind. So this has to be constantly tweaked to control how high or your altitude of the drone at all times. You always have to have input with this stick. The right-hand stick works pretty much the same as all drones. It is spring operated. This is forward, backward, left, or right. But if you let go of these sticks and you're flying forward and you let go, the drone just doesn't stop in place like a GPS drone. Again, this doesn't have GPS lock, so it's not going to lock anywhere. So if you're flying forward and you let go, it's still going to continue to move forward for a little bit. Oh yeah, it's going to slow down because you're not giving it direct input to pitch it forward. but it will continue to drift forward and in whatever direction the wind is blowing. So the way you use this stick in conjunction with this stick when you're flying is this stick controls forward movement, but you may have to fly forward and to the right if the wind is blowing to the left to get the drone to fly straight forward because the wind is blowing it. So with a non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone, you have to constantly provide input on both of these sticks to control how the drone is flying and how the drone acts while it's in the air. The advantages of learning how to fly this type drone are that if you ever get your GPS drone up in the air and you do lose your GPS connection at some point in time, you'll at least know what to expect with the characteristics of the drone flying in ATTI mode, how the wind will affect it, and what you need to do to try to bring the drone back home to where you're at. Because if you lose your GPS connection, most times the return to home function won't work because the drone now no longer knows where it's at because you don't have GPS. You'll get usually an error message saying cannot return to home or something like that. So learning how to fly this type drone, even if you lose your GPS connection and even if your screen goes blank, as long as you have visual line of sight of the drone, if you know how to fly this type drone, you'd be able to fly your GPS drone back and land it. I can tell you from my personal experience that I have been out a few times and I have lost GPS connection with my drones and I have been able to fly them back and bring them back to the home point and land them. Normally what will happen is at some point in time you'll reestablish your GPS connection and you'll be okay. But in that interim, those first few moments that you're flying, you need to be able to know what to do with the stick inputs to start bringing the drone back and be prepared to fly the drone all the way back if you have to, or at least until you reestablish your GPS connection, and then you'll be okay. And for being able to fly this type of drone will help you to do that. Now this is the MJX Bugs 3, but they have an MJX Bugs 3 Mini. It's a smaller version of this. It's a really, really good drone to learn how to fly. That one's a little pricey though. That one can run you about $95. Or you could go out and you can get something like the Holystone HS-150 Bolt Bee. That's a very capable drone for learning how to fly a non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone. You could keep it in close. It's not very big. You wouldn't be able to take it up high and as far away as you would with something like this or even the Bugs 3 Mini. But I would highly recommend all of you that have never flown a non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone that have the more expensive drones now, like the FIMIs and the Mavic Mini 2s and the Mavic Mini, Mavic Air 2, 2Ss, and all that kind of stuff. Rather than take a chance on losing such an expensive drone because it gets up in the air and you lose your GPS and don't know what to do, go out and get yourself a $50 to $60 non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone and learn how to fly it. What I can tell you is it really, really honestly will put your mind at ease if you ever run into a situation where your drone suddenly, your RC when you're flying your drone suddenly says ATTI mode, ATTI mode. That means you just lost GPS and the drone's going to start to drift. Because once you lose GPS, whatever direction the wind is blowing, guess what? Your drone's going to blow with the wind. And depending on how hard the wind is blowing, it can cause the drone to blow very quickly, forward, upward, even up and down. Sometimes you get a downdraft that'll push the drone down. With a GPS drone, it fights it and it goes back up. With a non-GPS drone, it'll push down. Okay. The other thing with non-GPS, learning how to fly non-GPS, is that when you bring the drone in to land and you're landing the drone, you have to constantly tweak this stick because the prop wash pushing against the ground is going to try to push the drone up, but you're trying to land. So this will also make you a better pilot in learning how to land in an emergency situation where you don't have GPS and you have to land the drone yourself. It'll teach you how to land the drone a little softer instead of having it come down and crash into the ground or whatnot. I do highly recommend that all of you that have not yet flown a non-GPS, non-altitude hold drone that are flying the more expensive GPS drones, go out and get yourself one of these and learn how to fly it. The other side to this whole thing is that flying these drones is really a lot of fun. So once you get into flying a drone like this, you're probably going to be like me and you're going to carry one around with you in your bag when you go out to fly because they're just a blast to fly and they break up the monotony sometimes when you're out flying your drones and filming videos. Sometimes you want to do something else, so you just throw one of these up in the air and just enjoy flying around. Okay. I hope some of you may have found this informative. I hope it was helpful. I know it's a little bit long, but I wanted to put something up since I'm not able to get out and fly, so I thought I'd throw this video together. Everybody take care, keep them in the air, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.